Hodges University proudly states that they are one of the most premier private universities in the state of Florida, and they are always making sure that they are providing the best options for their students. Here to tell us about the new federal college rating system and what savvy consumers should know is Dr. Kim Spivio, Provost with Hodges University. Good morning.
Good morning.
So great to have you on this morning.
Great to be here.
So kind of give everyone the background. Hodges University, like I said, is a premier university here in Florida. You have a very professional yet inviting campus. Invite everybody out. What is it like? What can they expect with Hodges if they've never had the pleasure of checking you guys out?
Well, what they'll find are state-of-the-art facilities in terms of technology, in terms of professors steeped in the newest instructional techniques. They'll also find academic programs that are aligned with the needs of Southwest Florida's economy, aligned with professional standards that enable a graduate to go anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, and be recognized as a professional.
So true, and we have some testaments of that. Some former students who are now business owners here that actually appear on the blend. There's a new rating system that's kind of all the buzz right now.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of explain what we can expect. This is something that has been proposed but has not exactly gone through yet, but we think it's going to go in that direction, right?
Well, the Obama administration always wants to make our life better somehow. So their latest attempt is to come up with yet another college rating system. It's been around for a while now. It's well-intentioned. It's trying to help consumers compare and contrast about 4,000 different schools. We've got 2- and 4-year schools, we've got public and private schools, we've got for-profit and non-profit. So it's a little bewildering. And so what the rating system is essentially trying to do is come up with some common metrics that will enable parents and students to ultimately compare and contrast. Again, well-intentioned, but there are some issues.
Well, and I mean, it's a tough decision. There's a lot of options out there, a lot of information, a lot of research that you need to do as the parent and as the student. What should we be looking for when it comes to this new system?
Well, like with any rating system, it's the prelude to a conversation rather than the final word on the value of the school. So there are 3 points of emphasis in this proposed rating system. One is accessibility, the other is affordability, and the final one is achievement. What do graduates ultimately do with the degree that they earned? A couple of things to notice about the accessibility component. It's really focused on a subgroup of students, lower income students. The Obama administration is about inclusion and trying to get college opportunities for students who come from lower income families. So that whole accessibility component is about that. It's a measure of how many students receive federal financial aid, for example, what the expected family contribution is, financially speaking, how many first-generation students. Now, the first-generation student metric is a really important one. At Hodges, for example, about 80% of our students are first generation, which means they're the first ones in their family to go to college. Absolutely. So when you see a school that's got that kind of percentage, that's a school that's really adept at servicing the needs of first-generation students. So that's the kind of follow-up question that parents and students ought to be asking. What special services are available in terms of academic support? What special services are available in terms of financial aid support? Following up on that particular element will tell someone a lot about what kind of experience they can expect at a school.
So as far as Hodges is concerned, when you come in and talk to a counselor, are these questions we need to be asking our counselors and our financial advisors as well?
Absolutely. When you walk in off the street, you ought to be asking pointed questions about the services that are available to students, just in general. But if you're from a particular subgroup of students, veterans, for example, single mothers, you ought to be inquiring as to whether there are special services available for those particular subgroups of students.
Well, and I think there are so many things out there. We talk about it with you guys all the time, but even when it comes to grants and the different options with financial aid, there's so much out there, and a lot of times, unless you're asking the questions or know the right questions to ask, you're not going to find out about them.
Well, affordability is another part of this rating system, and the centerpiece there is the net tuition calculator. So that's the tuition you're going to pay once all of the aid and scholarships have been applied. Sounds great on paper. What you ought to ask, though, if I enter the school as a new student, am I automatically eligible for scholarships? A lot of schools will make you wait a semester. and get a GPA at the school before they allow you
Right.
to ultimately apply for and receive institutional scholarships. At Hodges, we've got a first-generation scholarship. We're in the midst of a $1 million campaign to raise money just for that purpose.
Wow.
So that when a new student comes to us, first generation, that student's going to be eligible for scholarship support from the very minute she sets foot on campus. Not all schools are going to be able to do that, so you really need to ask about eligibility.
Yeah, it really is important, and it's hard these days, especially as a working adult, you know.
Absolutely.
Even when you're right out of high school, it's tough to balance all, but that's what we love about Hodges University is you make it the balance, you bring that, you bring the flexibility. Is there anything that this system has left out? We've got about 30 seconds left.
I think there are three things that you ought to be asking about. First of all, what's the average size of the entry-level courses that you're going to be taking as a freshman, as a junior, or as a sophomore? Second, what's the balance between full-time faculty members and adjunct faculty members? And finally, are your programs accredited by national professional bodies? That will give you some insight into the quality of the educational experience you're going to get in the classroom.
Okay, so when do we think this will take place? Are we going to start seeing changes soon along the way
Oh
here?
yes, the end is near. By this summer,
Okay.
we'll probably see this new rating systems in place.
Okay, Dr. Svezio, thank you so much.
Always a
It's so
pleasure.
great having you on. Check out Hodges University. Again, they offer it all. So thank you so much for being on the show. We
You're
look
welcome.
forward to having you back. And we will send it over to Carly.
Very interesting. Good to know. All right, up next, why the secret to a successful new year may start with a clean home. Stay with us.